Welcome to the Weird Octopus Podcast, a series of conversations with the humans who showed up before there was a map. I'm Perry, the founder of the Octopus Movement, and I believe nonlinear thinking is not just a way of creating possibilities, it's a way of being in the world. Each week, I speak with several founding members of our global human mycelium to explore who they are, why they think differently, and how they're shaping a future that cannot be built in straight lines. Are you ready to meet today's guest? Today's guest is Nakhli Khoury. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I've practiced so hard.
You got it.
Nakhli works Nakhli works at a fascinating intersection. Really cool. Um, I can hear myself now. Wait a second. Here we go. Um, Nakhli works at a fascinating intersection: compliance, ethics, leadership capacity, and inner transformation. Publicly, he is described as a leadership capacity consultant. How about that as a description? Um, and a coach based in Zug, in Switzerland, with a background that includes compliance and ethic leadership, financial risk, internal controls, and corporate experience across high pressure environments. At the same time, he has been building a second language around his work. Self awareness, consciousness, purpose awakens leadership and the shift from performance to presence. What I find interesting about Nakli is that he seems to stand with one foot in the corporate system, which I see as a linear system, and one foot out of it in a nonlinear system. On one side, he understands compliance, structure, pressure, the integrity inside organizations, systems, and the other, he speaks about leadership from the heart, self awareness, resilience, and what happens when the role no longer fits itself. What an octopus place to be at. He
Hmm.
also has been visible in conversations around working parents, ethical business, and people centered workplaces, which tell me his work is not only about rules and performance, it's about how humans stay whole inside demanding systems. So today I want to explore the octopus in Nockley. How do you move from compliance to consciousness without becoming vague? How do you help leaders deepen self awareness without losing edge? And what happens when someone who has spent years inside of rules and controls and systems and pressure starts asking deeper questions about identity, purpose, and how we actually want to live? Nutley, welcome to this podcast, to our dance together.
Thank you, Perry, for the introduction. It sounds definitely different hearing that, and I hope I live up to that definition. So let's kick it off.
I think it's fascinating to see how AI can help us. You know, I collect um, different different things about you, and I show AI the angle that I'm fascinated by your balance between linear, nonlinear, the corporate life and the conscious life, and I want the introduction to go in that space, and it
Mm.
creates this. I think it's well done. Anyway, let's start with question number one. Then we put that off the list. What is the octopus in you, Nakli? What makes you a nonlinear thinker?
Yeah. So obviously, it's not a surprise question. I was listening to other episodes, and I thought about it a little bit. So let me ask you this: do you know how many hearts the octopus has?
Three.
So do I. And so,
You
what do
do.
I mean by that? For me, heart also represent identity. And growing up as a minority, I had different identities to carry all the time. So I was born and raised in Israel. I'm Palestinian, and I'm also Christian. And I feel my identity was, in a way, carrying the three different hearts together and to try to navigate life. Which brings me to another aspect of the octopus, right? Blending in the environment. So I was always good in pretending and blending and fitting in order not to, or not to hide identity, but to choose which one to highlight. And another aspect of the octopus, as sometimes it's referred to as an alien creature, like part of it doesn't make sense. And I remember growing up, one of my favorite songs was, now maybe I'm revealing my age, was from Sting, Englishman in New York.
Hmm.
So I'm not English, I'm not American, but this song really spoke to me. One sentence, like you hear it in my accent when I talk and other things. So the part of identity in my journey was always present, and I feel very. Um, I mean, the octopus movement and journey really resonate with me in a way.
Does it make you feel sad when you think back at your three different identities?
Living through it, I was sad. Now I'm grateful
Hmm.
because I guess once we get older, we start to integrate the different part of our own experience, and suddenly it starts to make sense. Yeah.
So looking back, you're proud to be an alien in wherever you are, in a way. But I can also and the song of Sting, he tells you about that being an alien in New York, that it's not always easy. When people are listening to you, not in this podcast, but generally speaking, as a coach and all the work that you do, is that something you take with you when you see someone being a kind of an alien and feeling sorry for themselves being an alien? That doesn't sound right, but um, maybe they're not sorry for
I
themselves, but maybe they find it life just difficult being an alien. What do you do with them?
I definitely have the ability to identify this in others. Like
Yeah.
I know the body language, I know what's not being said, I notice patterns, and in a way, I see a reflection of myself in them. So I can immediately identify that. And it became, in a way, part of my mission to make it easier for them. Like I see myself nowadays more as a bridge between the different identities, the different sides, because I had so much time to be observant and to learn. And once you do this enough, you start to see things that are in common, not only what makes us different or apart. So now I choose to highlight what's in common. And it makes you feel less alien once you notice that.
So you have to see the differences to be able to be aware of what's in common, right?
Exactly. You have to live
What
through it and suffer from it. And then, yeah.
Yeah. What comes to me is wanting to ask you this question. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but
Mm.
um, is there the thought with you? I wish people would have asked me this question rather than um, looking at me from their perspective and not being able to place you, because that's difficult, obviously, for people. Like, what are you? You're from Israel, Palestine, Christian. It's confusing for people, and they make up their minds probably. Is there a question that you wish people would have asked you, or still maybe
And
there's still a question where you think, why are people not asking me this question?
I answer those who ask, but I don't interfere with their approach. Some people curious and would like to understand a bit more, and for those, I'm happy to share my experience. But I also enjoy playing games with them. So I usually reply with a different question that make them question their question. So I try to do it in a nice way that triggers something in them that maybe they were not aware of. I use a lot the example of fish in the water doesn't feel it's wet.
Hmm.
So for them, that's a new area that they are in. For me, that's my natural environment. So I know
Hmm.
all aspects of it. Um, yeah, it
is
always
is
end
there
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, go for it, please.
it always end up with both of us smiling because we came to the conclusion, okay, I got what you say, or I understand now.
Is that typically for Nakhli that it ends with a smile that um you trigger them in a way and something happens and they don't always understand what's happening, but it always ends with a smile. Is that typically you?
It is. It's a choice because, I mean, you could have the same experience that I had and then choose to do different thing or choose to react in a different way. So it's a choice, but it's also part of um, my genetics actually. I mean, thanks to Dr. Antoine that we both know. So I know that in my genetics, I also have higher potential of socializing and creating connections. And I think humor is big part of it, being able to make fun of yourself and use humor to create connections and to build bridges.
I did the DNA test as well. Meet Yourself from Antoine Ede. It's awesome. I think
Yeah.
it's really awesome. Um, what I was very curious about was the gap between what I think I am and what I'm actually am based on my
Yeah.
DNA. In my case, I can share that with you. I thought I wasn't a team player, but I'm very much a team player according to my DNA. But creating the octopus move, etc., I was so stubborn in the beginning, like I want to do this, and I'm not listening to anyone, and I just do it myself, so nobody stops me, right? And I became less of a team player because I wanted to get things done. And Meet Yourself immediately made that aware to me, like, wait a second, you are a team player. And it changed everything for me
Yeah.
immediately because there's something inside you that was blocked in a way by yourself. And just by knowing that, it opens up. There's no training, there's no coaching necessary. It's there. So you just release it. Was there a gap for you as well, what you discovered when you did the Meet Yourself?
I did actually. In my case, it was the reasoner part.
Mm,
And I had the potential to be more reasoner. And I think,
really?
yeah, it's not that I'm not, that I don't have it, but I have potential even more. And I think I also linked it to my experience as minority, that I didn't have enough space to express myself or to take leading positions, although I had maybe natural ability to do that. And if you don't practice a certain thing enough time, you try to ignore it or think, okay, it's not part of you. So it was a good refresher in a way. Oh, maybe I can do more actually here. Um,
Do you
it's
think
quite
as a,
interesting and powerful. Yeah.
yeah, do you think as a minority, you use that word yourself just now, and the word space, I'm triggered by that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Um, do you think as a minority you limit yourself in space due to the space around you, or is it really or a combination that the surroundings, the culture that you're at is limiting your space because they're not able to put you in a little box, or they can put you in a box, but that box is very limited. Do you think it's where is that space or a lack of space coming from your perspective now?
Um, so it's a two-way relationship. Me as a minority, I only feel that when I'm treated as such, right? When you are identified as such. Um, because it's easier for us to put anything in buckets, to know how to handle it, right? And this is also so true in the corporate world. Like when you recruit a new team member, you just want to make sure that this person will at least do their job and they will not damage the company. And it's easier to have this feeling with someone that reminds you with yourself. He looks like me, he speaks like me, he knows the same thing. Okay, we will get it along.
It will all work out just fine because we're alike, right? That's
Yes,
easy to
because
manage. Yeah.
yeah. So in a way, it's a risk management, and this is what I worked in corporate. I was a risk manager. Um, but those who chose this way, what I found out, they are driven by energy of fear, right? What they are thinking, how can I eliminate risk? Other leaders or other managers, they are driven by energy of love and compassion, and they see the potential. They take the risk because they say, okay, there's something that maybe we are not aware, and they are not quick to judge or to exclude things based on initial thought or primal thinking. So to answer the question of space or not, I mean, it depends on who has the power, who
Hmm.
allows the space to be, and who takes it from those who need it.
What do you think? This is in line with that space, but what is more difficult, breaking a rule or breaking an identity? Because when you're a minority, you're in a kind of identity, and then there's a limit of space due to the people around you. Um, so what do you think is more difficult then, breaking a rule or breaking an identity?
It's a really wonderful question. The way I used to deal with it in corporate is, it can I be uncompliant or can I be unethical? And my answer was, I would always choose to be uncompliant
Hmm.
or non-compliant, but I will never compromise my ethics. So I would break the rule, but not my identity. Why? Because compliance are basically rules made by humans, but ethics are rules made for the humans.
Yeah.
So we don't even have the power to change them. It's part of who we are, how we operate. Um, and I always, once I saw the difference between these two words, my approach to work changed, because you hear legal and compliance or ethics and compliance as one sentence, but they are so different in their structure, in their meaning, in their implementation.
So explain to me what how compliance and consciousness meet together within yourself. You talk about that, but how does that work?
So for me, what made a lot of shift in my mindset and approach to compliance and ethics was when I started to learn about the natural laws of the universe, about ancient philosophies, principles in the Kybalion book, the Hermetic laws. And you see that a lot of the things that we deal with in the large scale and corporate, in many cases, are reflection to inner battles or inner conflicts that we have as individuals. Like the same leader or CEO that have challenges at home, it will be somehow reflected at work. I mean, if he
Yes.
doesn't trust their partners, probably he doesn't trust his leadership team, and the decision making is similar. Um, One of my favorite examples about conscious leadership is that you measure leadership during times of crisis, not when the business are going right, right?
Hmm.
You see how decisions are being taken when you have no stability or when you have financial struggles. And then it's a choice. Do you choose to lead by isolation and separation, which is most of the case happen? And we hear this all the time now. Companies are struggling, and the first thing they do, they reduce costs, they fire employees, and they try to become more efficient. Other companies, they choose different ways. They choose to keep the employees, but be more smart. Maybe um, reduce the bonus or take a cut in the pay, but they try to go with this or overcome this together
Hmm.
because they see themselves as a whole.
Yeah.
And this sends totally different message to the employees. Like if I was an employee facing that, I feel okay, the company is doing everything in its power to help me. So I will also be willing to do everything in my power to make this happen. I will support my colleagues. I will work extra hours. I will use my connections and so on. Uh, Companies that choose to reduce headcounts, it's spreading energy of fear again in the organization. So you don't want to be the one that being fired, right? So you try to keep distance from those who are weak.
Hmm.
You start to sacrifice others. You start to um, care for yourself. So you start to isolate. And isolation, as we know in nature, is never good for growth. I mean, you have to be part of the system. You have to work together. You cannot succeed on your own. Um, so
There's a
yeah, I
beautiful
mean,
book about that. It's Finding the Mother Tree. I have it here somewhere. I
mm,
think you will love that book as well. It's about this. It's about a lumber, and she's cutting trees, and the government is telling her to put back trees and plant new trees in the forest, but it's not working because she's putting
mm,
back the wrong trees. It's those are in isolation and not accepted by the mycelium of the
yeah,
forest, and it has no use whatsoever. The idea is fine, the idea is good, and it checks the balance sheet, right? And we've replanted so many trees, but none of
yeah,
them are really working. And I think that happens a lot in the corporate world as well. It checks the sheets and balances, but if it's really working, that's a different question, right?
yeah. I mean, I always tell my clients and colleagues, there's nothing wrong that you climb the corporate ladder. Just make sure that you're climbing the right ladder, because many people climb a certain ladder and suddenly it's not where I want to be, right? I mean, but it's too late now, and it's already took a toll, and you see people, go through burnout or breaking points because they choose a path that was not naturally theirs. Um, and there's no
Is
one to
that
tell us this.
Yeah, that's a problem, right? There's no one. Of course, there are many people that can tell you that this in the form of coaching and interesting books and whatnot, but it's not a conversation in leadership within the organization often.
No, because companies not really care a lot about the employee. Or let me rephrase, it only care about the employee when they have the same interest.
Yeah.
When you are in corporate, there is unspoken rules that what you need to do and behave in order to progress, which is fine. And for many people, this is exactly reflecting who they are. But others feel that they need to change who they are in order to progress. And there's also nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you change too much, when you become even stranger to who you are. And in those points, people have these break point and burnout and depression, and they feel that identity crisis. So who am I? I spent so much time and effort to be something and I failed. But you didn't actually fail. You just climbed the wrong ladder, right?
I've interviewed a lot of people on the spectrum, and I know you and I are both there somewhere as well. It's fascinating to look at this and to talk about this with others. And I was interviewing someone, and he said to me, I asked him, I said, "What if you could change something? What would it be?" And he was severely on the spectrum, really autistic and super intelligent, but difficult to get around in normal life. And he said, "I wish I could understand the unwritten rules. It would make my
Mm.
life so much better if I could see the unwritten rules," which is a very interesting sentence, right? Because they're everywhere, and especially in the corporate world, there's so many unwritten rules, and they're unwritten for a reason, and yet they're so important, and it's so much linked to your ladder as well. Which ladder are you climbing? And
Yeah,
what are the unwritten rules? What's going on? What's really going on?
yeah. And I agree with you. I think there's a reason why they are not written, because if they are written and they're obvious, it gives the power back to the individual, and you become more challenging to control and maneuver and guide. I was listening once to Dr. Zach Bush. I don't know if you know him. He's from the US, also interesting person. One of his sentences that he said was, sometimes it's difficult to change uh, big and global organization or
Hmm.
old organization, and it could be easier to build new ones that makes everything old obsolete. And I notice this now. I see nowadays globally, so many people are leaving corporate, so many people becoming entrepreneur or following their dreams and doing their own thing. And I see this very positive thing because I feel more and more individuals will own their destiny. Whether they succeed or fail, it's not the issue, but they will be independent. They will be free to decide what will happen to them. And I am actually fascinated to see the new systems that will be built nowadays. Uh, what what will be rewritten.
I love that you're saying this. I need to say something because
Mm,
this touches something so interesting. I think um, creating something new is is a real creation, and if you are innovating in a current system that is based on knowledge and thoughts. And so when you have a big corporation, it can only innovate within itself. It's very difficult to create because I think creation is without knowledge. Creation is separate of
yeah.
knowledge. The innovation is to make a better mic than this one is that performs better, but it's always based on the knowledge of this mic. And creating something completely new, you need to be
Mm,
detached from everything. It cannot be based on knowledge because then it's innovation, right?
yes, and I think that it's also more difficult to innovate within big companies. They have so many, because for me it's two opposite forces: structure, authority, hierarchy, and then at the same time innovation.
Yeah.
That's why you see that, especially in the healthcare industry, many big pharma companies, they fail to come up with new drugs. They buy new or smaller pharmaceutical company that they just had a new drug approved or developed, um, because they have different mentality. They have less ability to take risk as a startup or as a young company or small company. And I wonder why they still have like internal R&D departments where they are not always really innovating.
They should hire some very nonlinear thinkers, right? And go beyond what is there as the knowledge and find out other things. Luckily, last question. If you could whisper a sentence in everybody's ear, at the same time in their own language, what would it be?
Hmm. So what I like to whisper to everyone is that you were never broken. You were just becoming. For me, that was also a turning point. And once you endorse your challenges, integrate them, as Carl Jung said, our shadows has the key to who we are. Um, so face them, look at them. They probably have a really good idea for you or for everyone what should be done next.
What if you're listening to this and you're thinking, maybe I'm climbing the wrong ladder right now. Now what? Can you imagine? You're putting all your time and energy in climbing the ladder, and now you all of a sudden think, if I'm being very honest with myself, this is the wrong ladder. What do you do then, Nakli? What is your thought on that?
So first of all, I welcome the thought. I'm now conscious of a new question that maybe I didn't ask myself before. So I try to go deeper and see what triggered this question. And this could lead me to two or maybe more options: either affirmation that no, I'm actually good. It's good that I validated my direction. Or maybe, oh, I actually see another opportunity here that I haven't seen. And only because I climbed this ladder, now I'm able to see it. Yeah, so you never know. But that's the
It
thing. This process of self discovery and knowing ourselves is never ending. And whenever you feel that you gain more and more insights, the questions and the challenges become more and more annoying.
Absolutely, but interesting at the same time, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm 50. I'm always thinking it's good to be 50. It's so interesting to know more and to understand that we don't know shit. That I'm just starting. It's interesting. Thank you for being here,
yeah.
Nakli, and not just in the
Thank you
podcast,
for inviting.
but
Yeah,
also as a founding member, as a friend, as connection. It's
it's
so
a pleasure.
interesting. If you're listening out there and you feel a spark, follow it, please. Nonlinear thinking is not a strategy. It's a kind of love, and it grows where we share it in positive. Thank you, Nakli.